Hello, Met Opera book clubbers. We are so thrilled to be back here for our second installment of the Hamlet Book Club with Hamlet himself today, tenor Allan Clayton. I'm going to do a more formal introduction, but before we get to that, we always like to start with a brief physical description as an offerance of accessibility. So I am a white woman. I'll start with my name, actually. I'm Kamala Schelling. I work here at the Metropolitan Opera, where I oversee content for our education department. I'm a white woman with chin-length curly brown hair, and today I am wearing a green dress. And Allan.
I am also wearing a green. No, I'm not wearing a green dress. My name is Allan Clayton. I'm a white guy in his 40s. I'm very hairy. I've got a big beard, brown hair, brown beard, and I'm wearing a black T-shirt today. And I do every day, I'm afraid.
It's your thing. It's your signature. And we're actually joining you today. Last week, we joined you from the Belmont Room here in the Metropolitan Opera. Today, we are in the boardroom, which is one floor above the Belmont Room. If we tunneled through the floor, we'd get into the Belmont Room. And it's a room where big meetings take place. There are some old costume designs on the wall behind us. There's a plant in the corner. Sometimes they have chocolates in this room. I looked, they don't have them today.
Why am I here?
Right? But anyway, we are really thrilled to be here in the boardroom at the Metropolitan Opera to talk about Hamlet. So now here's the introduction I promised you. Allan Clayton is a world-renowned tenor. He's especially known for his performances in new operas that have just been composed. And I want to share with you a couple of quotes. One that Brett Dean, the composer of Hamlet, sent me a couple weeks ago, completely unbidden. This was entirely on him. Oh, somebody's singing in the background. So according to Brett Dean, our lead, Allan Clayton, embodies one of the most interesting and compelling Hamlets one could wish to see on any theatrical stage, sung or spoken. He's funny, arresting, vulnerable, and heartbreaking. He also happens to possess one of the most glorious and flexibly nuanced tenor voices one will hear nowadays. So that is from Brett Dean, the person who wrote Hamlet. And yesterday in a meeting, Peter Gelb, the head of the Metropolitan Opera, made an offhand comment that went, "He's an amazing actor and singer. There's nothing like Allan Clayton." So this is who we're talking to today. Friends, you're joining us from across the country, actually across the world. We have some amazing members of our summer camp who are here with us today. So let's just dive right into it. I'm going to start, Allan, with a repeat question from Alfie in Maine. Alfie asked this question of Matthew Jocelyn last week. And that question was, how well did you know Hamlet and Shakespeare, sort of as a whole, before you started singing this role?
It's a good question. Hi, Alfie in Maine. I know Shakespeare quite well because I'm from an area in the United Kingdom called Worcestershire, and it borders Stratford, where Shakespeare was born, and where there is now a company called the Royal Shakespeare Company, and they are a world-renowned theatre company who produce Shakespeare's plays. And because my school was so close, we used to go a lot, visit there every term, and so I got to know Shakespeare from quite a young age. There's also a lot of choral music that I sang as a kid, which is inspired by Shakespeare texts. So that's how I got to know Shakespeare. And Hamlet itself, I don't remember the first time I saw it, but I think I was probably in my teens. Othello was my first Shakespeare play that I saw.
I was about to ask. So Othello was your first. What would you say is your favorite Shakespeare play if you had to pick one?
Oh, I mean, it's difficult to look beyond Hamlet now, but I loved Antony and Cleopatra. I studied that at school, and I love the language in that. I love the sort of power dynamics, the romantic love triangle that goes on in that. It's so compelling and beautiful.
It is. And here's a fun fact. The Metropolitan Opera House opened with an opera based on Antony and Cleopatra.
Of course.
So it all comes back around, and now we are performing Hamlet. Our next question is from Ruby in New York. And Ruby wants to know, what is your favorite part of the opera? And is there a particular line that you really love singing?
I mean, everybody knows the famous line, "To be or not to be." And what Matthew Jocelyn, who you were with last week, does very cleverly in this opera is to put that line at the very beginning, but only half of it. So my very first line is "or not to be." And it just means that the whole audience go, "What? Wait a minute." And makes everyone stop and think about the text in a completely new way, which is really exciting for me. And it's just as well because I sing that line quite a lot. My other favorite line is probably the last line, "The rest is silence," because it's a beautiful line and it means I've got to the end of the show in one piece.
It does indeed. It's a long show, right?
It really is.
And you're on stage for almost the whole time.
Right, okay. In insight here, behind the scenes, the one scene that I'm not in, scene 9, which is Ophelia's quote-unquote mad scene, I'm actually on the ceiling of the set. So I have to sit up there for half an hour. So the one scene I'm not in, I am also in.
You're still on stage.
I'm still up there.
So you never have a quiet
I think
moment.
I have 10 minutes off during the scene. That's about it.
How do you get up to the ceiling?
They have to lower it in the interval, and then we strap ourselves on with some safety harnesses, and then they lift it back up again, and we sit up there.
And then they lift you back up, and you just wait.
Just
so
sit
you're not
there.
afraid of heights?
No, thankfully. We got to jump off to practice a safety drill the other day, which was great fun.
That sounds really exciting.
Yeah.
What fun. The things you get to do when you're a singer at the Metropolitan Opera. Bungee jumping. How fun. And you said you're strapped in on a safety harness.
Exactly. And there's a big hole in the middle of the set, so just in case anything goes wrong. But it's great. We have got water up there. The guys are going to install a flat screen TV for us. We're going to watch Spaceball. It's going to be great.
It's going to be the new hangout place of the Met. Exactly. The ceiling of the Palace at Elsinore for Hamlet. Harper in Atlanta, Georgia wants to know, what does it feel like to sing in English? And how does that compare to singing in the other famous opera languages, so German, Italian, French?
That's a great question, because we don't think about it. You don't think about how you would sing in English normally. But the big thing with English, if you think, how are you today? How are you today? There are loads of diphthongs in English. And so we have to manage where we do that. If I was singing how on a long note, so I go, how, you suddenly have to introduce this new vowel sound right at the end. So it's a really weird thing. You really have to think about it in a way that you don't when you speak normally. You'd think it would come naturally. Of course, it's easier than singing in a language that isn't my own. And it does make memorizing it slightly easier. But it's not a bad language to sing in. It's just a different experience.
I was going to ask you something related to the diphthongs. So, like, for instance, Italian doesn't really have diphthongs in the same way, right?
Much
it's
cleaner
very pure vowels.
Yeah, exactly. Much cleaner. And if you're trying to do diphthongs there, the Italian coach will start saying no and hitting you with a ruler. So yeah, it's good. And we have an English coach in the room, wonderful Catherine LeBoeuf, who has written books on the subject, and it's been fantastic in helping us also in how to project the English language in this vast space at the Met. It's a much bigger theatre than a lot of singers are used to. So, for instance, you have to over-exaggerate the end of a word. If I say and like that wouldn't be heard. So I have to say and my name is. Everything has to be exaggerated like that.
Wow. Because you brought up singing in the Met, we have a fantastic question. By the way, Sophie off screen is our tech person today. I listed this one last. We have a question from Minna in Oxford English, who wants to know, was it exciting to make your debut at the Met?
Oh, yes. Yeah, not bad. It's a wonderful thing. I mean, it's incredible. There are opera houses around the world that people have heard of. And of course, this is right up there with the biggest. So it's always been a dream of mine to be here, and I couldn't be more excited. The people are lovely as well. This show is massive on every front, for the orchestra, for the chorus, for the tech teams, for the costume and design, makeup people. It's massive. So everyone has a huge role to play. So I'm just very lucky and very happy that everyone's come together to make it work so well.
So when you premiered it in Glyndebourne, that's a much smaller space. So for those of you who have never been to the Met Opera House, 4,000 people can fit in this theater. That is massive. Glyndebourne holds what? It's a very intimate space, maybe 1,200.
Yeah.
So we're talking 3.5 times the size of Glyndebourne. Did you have to prepare differently to come and sing it in this space?
No, because the acoustic's really generous here. Actually, you can whisper on stage, and as long as you project it properly and you're singing properly, then it will work. The main difference was changing the show itself. We expanded the stage slightly. Things that worked in Glyndebourne where I might sing upstage, so I turn away from the audience and sing that way instead of to you guys, doesn't work because in Glyndebourne, because it's smaller, it will bounce off all the walls and it will go back into the auditorium. Here, that doesn't work. So I've had to adjust some of the staging, and as have other people in the show.
And what was the staging process like, bringing this show to the Met? What was the rehearsal build-up to be able to put it on stage?
Well, we had really intense rehearsals in the studios downstairs here at the Met, and we worked for 5 or 6 weeks, 3 weeks down there, and then another 2 weeks on stage. It's phenomenally difficult music, so a lot of time was spent on that. There's never enough time really because it is so hard. We were lucky that some of the people had done it before, like me, and the people who are new came incredibly well prepared and have just knocked it out of the park. They've been amazing from day one.
Tell us a little bit about those satellite ensembles, and does it sound different to hear those in the Met than they sounded in Glyndebourne?
Yes, we've got these incredible 2 groups of 3 players each, right up high in the auditorium itself. 1 percussionist, 1 trumpet player, 1 clarinetist, and they sort of comment on the action like these sort of Greek chorus, almost like sort of extra chorus people, and it means that the audience has got sort of cinematic, sort of Dolby surround sound. You know, they're sort of surrounded by this incredible noise, and that really is sort of, it's commenting on the action. It's something for me to react to. There are stones up there. There's plastic bottles being things. There's sheets of aluminium foil. There's all these incredible noises going on, and it just means that it's sort of, you're never quite sure what noise is coming next or where it's coming from. And in a space like this, where like I said, the acoustic is so good, it really rattles through the house, and you sort of get to experience that. It's great.
That's awesome. I can tell you, sitting in the audience, it sounds really cool and surround soundy. So it's really fun to hear what it sounds like when you're on the stage, which is usually where all the sound is coming from. And suddenly to have this effect where there's sound also going sort of toward the stage is really, really cool.
Yeah, exactly. And also there are moments when the choruses are placed in boxes in the auditorium as well.
Oh yeah, tell us a little bit about that.
Well, so you've got these. I mean, also you have 8 wonderful soloists singing in the pit with the orchestra, which again is very unusual. Something Brett wanted to do to add a different color to the orchestra. So you'll have these sort of vocal things coming out of the pit. So again, you're going, hang on, where's that? That's not on stage, but I can hear this sort of beautiful solo music coming. And then you have the chorus at moments. They'll go into the auditorium. They'll be backstage. They'll be behind the stage. They'll be in the wings singing. Sometimes mic'd, sometimes amplified, sometimes not. So again, it just adds these different layers of noise that you're not expecting from sort of a more traditional art form.
It's really cool, the effect. Again, when you go see Hamlet, pay attention to these other sources of music and these other sources of sound. So speaking of choirs, we have a question from Diego in Buenos Aires, Argentina, and we actually have a video of Diego asking his question.
Hi, my name is Diego and I'm from Buenos Aires, Argentina. I sing at the National Children's Choir. So my question for Allan is, how did singing in a choir help you in your career? I also want to be an opera singer. Bye.
So Diego is in the children's choir at the Argentinian Opera. He lives in Buenos Aires, like we said, and he wants to know, how did being in a choir help you in your career, since he also would like to be an opera singer someday?
Oh, wow. And what a place to sing. Teatro Colón in Buenos Aires. I've sung there once before, and that was an incredible experience as well. A beautiful opera house. Hey, Diego, great question. I did exactly the same as you, but I was in a boys' choir to start with, and then I was in a church choir afterwards. So we did lots of, like I was saying earlier on, we did lots of singing different languages, singing different poets, and it was a great sort of experience for me and an education in music. And I probably wouldn't be doing this now if I hadn't done that. So what you're doing couldn't be better to be an opera singer. The experience for me just meant that I was able to sort of sing music like this, which is really hard because we were trained really well. We had help in learning music theory. I would do all of that, if you've got a good conductor, which I'm sure you do, listen to him, her, or them. It's great that you want to keep singing. I think it's fantastic.
That is a beautiful segue, a beautiful unintentional segue to a question from Valeria, also in Buenos Aires, although she's originally from Venezuela. Sophie, would you mind playing us Valeria's video?
Hi, I am Valeria. I'm Venezuelan and I currently live in Buenos Aires, Argentina. My question for Mr. Clayton is, who inspired you to become an opera singer? And what are your dream roles to perform? Thank you.
So what inspired you to become an opera singer, and what are your dream roles to perform?
Well, Valeria, I could sing and I couldn't do much else. I love playing soccer and I was very good at that, but then I got old and fat and my knees went, so I couldn't do that anymore. I'm still waiting for a phone call from my football team, my soccer team, but we'll see. I'm now 41, so it might be a bit too late. And I don't know. I knew I always wanted to be a musician. I sang as a kid, like I said, to Diego, and I always knew that I was going to do that somehow. I couldn't imagine not doing it, and it's been something that, you know, if I'm not someone who walks around the house singing particularly, but I always have to have music on. I came to this meeting with you guys today with my headphones on because I love listening to different types of music, and that inspired me to be a musician more than it inspired me to be an opera singer particularly. And I was very lucky that I sort of found my way into opera quite late on. I mean, I was older than you guys. I was 20, 22, 23, 24, and that's how I got into it. I didn't listen to a lot of opera as a kid. My parents aren't musicians or anything like that. So we listened to a lot of Stevie Wonder and Michael Jackson and Sting and the Police, those sorts of things. And
so not opera, but great singers.
Great singers. Stevie Wonder, probably the best voice ever. And yes, that's how I got into it. And now I get to work with people who I consider sort of to be idols. You know, I was just singing with a British singer called Bryn Terfel, who's a wonderful bass baritone who's sung many times here at the Met. He's a absolutely stunning singer. I get to sing on stage with wonderful tenors like William Burden, with David Butt Phillip in this show, and get to witness all these people up close and personal, and that's an amazing experience.
Because Diego is singing in an opera house, do you feel like there's a lot to be learned simply being in proximity to great singers, even if you're not going into a practice room or a lesson space with them?
Absolutely. I mean, honestly, some of the best singing lessons I've ever had have been, like I said, on stage with these people, just watching them. Watching these people, how they sing in different languages, if it's their native language or not, the work they put in, the way they handle themselves on stage, the way they are off stage, how do they behave in rehearsals. All these things are incredibly important about, if you want to be an opera singer, it's not just about singing. I mean, I've read an interview that you did about talking about the number of people who work here at the Met, and the different strands of people who have to come together to put a cast of, say, 20 on stage. It's incredible. People from different backgrounds, different talents and things like that. So it's important to just to remember that it's a massive team game.
It really is. How many people would you say it takes on any given night? This is going to be a huge approximation, but how many people do you think it takes to put Hamlet on stage on any given night, if you had to guess? Or maybe rather than giving us a number, tell us some of the people you interact with on your way to the stage.
Yeah, I mean, so I go past maybe 3 or 4 security staff. There's the ushers letting people in front of house. There's the people who have very kindly cleaned the stage for us, or cleaned the foyers or the bathrooms here. There's a makeup person. There's a hair person who looks after me. If there's a Met broadcast, which there will be for this show in June, there's a microphone. Susan, who comes and does my microphone. Marianne, who is from Argentina, she does my makeup. And Rio is from Japan, does my hair. So you're not just talking about people from New York, to people from across the world. And then I go on stage, there's stage management, there's sort of maybe 10 people there doing that. There's a crew of hundreds who have made the stage, they put it up. There's people who built the stage originally in the UK, there's people who painted it, there's a conductor, there's a small orchestra of 80, there's a chorus of 50, there's actors in our show, and then you have the singers themselves. There's sort of, I think, 20 of us soloists. So it's innumerable, really, the number. It's
literally hundreds of people.
Yeah. And over a process of years, this piece, they started writing it in 2014, which is when I first started meeting with Brett about it. And that's when the process started. You've got people publishing who are setting the things. And
So when did you come on in that process? If they started doing it in 2014, when did you join that?
Well, that year I met Brett in Melbourne in Australia. I was over for the festival there, and we went for lunch, and we had a chat, and we read through some of the play together, and he just wanted to hear how the play sounded in my voice, my speaking voice. And so that's how we got together. And then we would meet up in Berlin, where he lived and where I was singing quite a lot of the time. And we'd just sort of chat about the music, and he'd show me little bits of what he'd written. And his wife Heather, who's a visual artist who inspired the writing of this opera, would show me some of her paintings that she was doing of Ophelia, these massive canvases, like the size of this thing behind me. And that was a really exciting part to be part of the development.
So I was going to say what's so cool about this is, unlike, say, if you were to sing an opera by Verdi or Mozart, in this case, you really did get to be involved with the composer as he was bringing it to life, right?
Yeah, and it's incredible. I mean, the number of times I've sat in a rehearsal room and we said, if only we could ask Mozart what he meant by, why did you write this line? It doesn't work, or can we shorten this bit here? And in this we could do that. Brett was sitting in rehearsals when we did it the first time in Glyndebourne and was making comments on the thing. There were new lines. My score is covered in pages that I had to glue in and sellotape bits here and write new bits in, and because it was an evolving piece of music theatre, which is incredibly exciting.
Did it change more between the Glyndebourne premiere and when it came to the Met?
It's changed slightly, yeah. There are new bits, and even Brett hasn't been able to be here in New York, but has been listening to recordings of all the rehearsals and has been making changes then as well. So it's changed not only since we got to New York, between Glyndebourne and New York, but since we got to New York as well.
Amazing. And you sing a lot of new music, right?
Yeah.
So what are some of the particular joys and particular challenges of singing music like this?
It's cool because no one's done it before. It's hard because no one's done it before. So I can't go on Spotify and find someone who's done it before and say, oh, that's how I'll learn it. I have to go to a piano and I have to do it myself, and I have to be the first person who's done that. And that's very exciting because it means that I can make it my own. I haven't got any external influence saying this is how you should be doing it and this is the tradition. And it means it's a new piece of art, it's a new piece of music theatre, which is the most thrilling thing of what I do, I think. I love singing Mozart, I love singing Handel and some of the older repertoire. And that's a very different skill. You have to find a new way to interpret it and to make it your own. But with contemporary music, it's exciting. There are new noises that people haven't heard before.
But what strikes me about your answer is that you said even with Handel, even with Mozart, which in the case of Handel, people have been singing Handel for 300 years, you still have to find a way to make it your own. And so is this something you bring to every role you learn and every performance, a sense of how can I make this my own? How can I bring something special to this piece?
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, that's why if I'm doing my job, that's what I should be doing. You shouldn't come out of the theatre and go, oh, that person sounded exactly like that person. You know what I mean? And I'm not going to sound like some of the best singers in the world. I'm going to sound like me, and I'll do my job. And if people like it, then fantastic. And the great thing, I've been thinking about Hamlet recently, coming back to it 5 years after we first did it, is that this piece is going to live long and long and long into the future, hundreds of years after I'm dead. And it's so exciting. I'm excited to see in 10 years' time when I'm not doing it, what new productions will be and how other singers will interpret this role that I know so well. I can't wait to hear them do it and to see what new things they bring to it.
That's so exciting. And I think it's so important for all of us who are wanting to be opera singers or wanting to be involved in opera in some way or music in some way to remember that what you're bringing is special and what you're bringing is something we need. And you shouldn't sound like Maria Callas, you shouldn't sound like Pavarotti, you should sound like you, because that's what we want in the opera world. So I have one more question. This is from Tal in Halifax, Nova Scotia, Canada. And this is something that I struggled with the whole time I was a musician. So we have a video of Tal asking this. Take it away, Tal.
Hi, my name is Tal and I live in Halifax, Nova Scotia, Canada. My question is, how do you keep yourself motivated to practice consistently? Thank you.
Tal, that's a good question. Do I keep myself motivated? This is the question I should be asking myself.
That is the question.
That is the question. There's the point. It's really hard. It's hard. I mean, what I found really interesting when I went to music college, and so I went to university first, and I did a degree that wasn't anything to do with music, and just sang a bit. And then I went to music college.
What was your first degree again? Can I ask?
It was archaeology and anthropology.
Wow.
So old stuff, bones, digging. And then social anthropology, so just asking questions about people.
So this is why you look so comfortable in that scene in Hamlet, where you're digging up the bones in the grave.
Exactly. Give me a skull. I'm in my element.
You're in your enemy. Sorry to interrupt.
When I went to music college, I couldn't believe how much people practiced. I was like, oh no, this is what I should be doing. And I think you have to find your own rhythm. If you like practicing for half an hour a day and that is enough for you, then that's enough for you and you get the work done that you need to do. If you need to take longer, if you need to spend 4 hours or 100 hours a week, whatever it is, then that's great. I find I can't really do much more than 2 hours singing a day because, this is a muscle and it gets tired. If you think about a soccer game or a hockey game or anything like that, those don't last for 6 hours. For the reason that it's high intensity, you're using a lot of muscles and it's pressure on your body. Same with this. This is a muscle. These are muscles. They need rest as much as they need training. So don't overdo it. If you feel you've done enough, you'll know you've done enough yourself.
What are some of your favorite ways? We often ask singers, how do you keep your voice healthy? How do you take care of yourself? But I want to ask you a slightly different question, which is how do you keep yourself happy and motivated? And what are the things that make you, when you wake up in the morning, think, I'm excited to get out of bed and go to work and be a singer?
Coming to talk to you guys, obviously.
Oh, we feel the same way.
Things like this are great. And the things around my job I'm incredibly lucky that I get to talk about things like this. And I get to hear questions from people who are interested. We wouldn't exist without people who are interested in what we do and who frankly pay us for it. They come and watch us like you go and watch a movie. Movies exist because we want to see things like this. We want to see different worlds, and that's exciting to me to inhabit a different character, to bring some of my own personal story to it. And in terms of trying to stay happy, it's not always the easiest. You're doing these quite high intensity pressured roles. I'm away from home from a lot of the time, but keeping in touch with friends and family is really important to me. My soccer team doing well is very important to me.
Which is your soccer team?
Liverpool Football Club. We've got a big game against Real Madrid in the final next week. So
best of luck.
Thanks very much. So things like that, and I'm very lucky on this show, for instance, that I've got a lot of friends in the cast, people I know from before. So we go to the movies together, we go and hang out, we go and have a coffee, we go for a walk in a park, and it just means that your life is a bit more normal outside the theatre, where it can be quite intense and quite pressurized.
And maintaining that balance between being able to go out for a walk in the park and then come on to the biggest opera stage in the world in the evening.
Exactly. And also finding creative things outside singing I find really important, because what I do isn't that creative, actually. It's I interpret other people's music and words. So for me, it's about, I sometimes make my own music outside opera and stuff. And that's a really good way to unwind and enjoy music from a different side.
So one final question before we let you go. Our traditional final question for singers is, what is your favorite role to sing? But I'm not going to ask you that. I'm going to ask you, because you said you listen to all these other kinds of music, what is one piece of music, one song, one singer, one non-operatic thing that we should all go listen to at some point? Recommended by tenor Allan Clayton.
Okay. I could say so many things, but my karaoke track of choice, which I think is a good way to go.
That really mediates between your favorite role to sing and your favorite non-opera music, right?
And it's a track called Cosmic Girl, and it's by an English singer called Jamiroquai, which is quite a weird name. But if you search for Cosmic Girl, put that into your search engine, you'll find it. It's a really little funky number, and I've sung it with a live band, actually. That's quite good fun. That was one of my highlights.
Well, you heard it here at Met Opera Book Club. Thank you to all of our students across the country who are joining us. Thank you to our global summer campers who joined us today. We have some people joining us today from Liverpool, England, Hannah, Ava, and Danny, who are some super great summer campers we have.
Great, but they might be Blues, they might be Evertonians, the other team in Liverpool. So if you are, my grandma was, no problems. We're all friends. We
can all be friends. Gibran and Diego from Argentina are thanking you so much for your time. Thank you as well from us, Allan. It has been such a pleasure to speak with you. And we are so lucky to get to see your performance in Hamlet on June 4th, live in HD. So thank you for being here. Thank you to everyone out there, and we'll see you next week.